Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jumblhoj. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Cafetalk. We're here in El Cielito Cafe, as usual, our kicking spot. And my co-host, Jolene, is by my side, my main man. How you doing, Jolene?
Doing all well. Never mind. Can't say.
You have a little accent.
Okay, yeah. Aside from that, I'm doing okay. Yeah. I was preparing lunch early so that way I can come to the shop and record our podcast.
Yeah.
And I was cutting some tomatoes, and the knife kind of jumped on the board, and let's just say I ripped some skin off of my finger.
Oh man, that is. It sounds gruesome the way you described it, because you told me it was like right on the knuckle, right?
Yep.
Oh, dude.
It was on the knuckle. On your last knuckle, close to your fingertip.
Yeah, it just shed some skin right there.
Yep.
Jonah, when the recipe called for meat, they didn't mean your meat.
Nope.
No,
man. Sir.
Well, at least you're okay, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, that's good to hear, man. All right, Jordan, what are we gonna talk about today on this podcast? What do we got for our entertaining?
We're finally gonna answer the age-old question that has never been asked on Cafe Talk before.
Okay.
But before that, just wanna open up the podcast with a little bit of improv.
Improv?
Just some random questions.
Sure, no problem. Go for it, man. Shoot. What you got on your mind? What's bubbling in there? This is your magnificent beard.
No,
is it how you're growing it out and you gotta keep it and you could grow an Abe Lincoln beard?
Maybe. I'm not thinking about it.
No? Yeah?
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
thinking about just letting my beard grow out.
Not bad. I mean, I'm barely getting my mustache in. Like I keep shaving it off because, I'm in that process where, where it's like, if you can't grow it, you should just shave it off. I'm in that process right now because I'm a little patchy here and there. And I just, want to keep shaving off until I could see that it grows fully. And then I could, get it. But so far, I've been seeing that I'm going to have a badass goatee. My chin grows out perfectly and my mustache is growing out nicely. So once I get I would say in 2 years or so, I feel like I could grow that nice goatee. Yeah. So
have you ever thought about getting a pet bird?
A pet? Yes, multiple times actually.
Or a cockatiel?
Exactly. Yeah. No. I've thought of, because I love animals, all animals, even snakes and lizards and stuff. So I've always considered getting a bird. First, of course, it was a parrot. I've always wanted a parrot because my grandma had 2 parrots. Oh. So I would always go in there, but those things would always bite me just because they weren't mine. They didn't recognize me.
Yeah.
And I was a dumb little kid that would stick my finger in the cage, so they would bite me and I would bleed. But other than that, I've definitely thought of getting a bird. Specifically, what are those white ones? The really white ones with little yellow tip feathers on their heads.
A cockatoo?
That's a cockatoo?
Cockatoo?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, I would get a cockatoo. That would be my first option. What about you?
Well, I've had pet chickens, so they're birds.
Oh my god! In that case, I would love a duck. I would love it.
Ducks are assholes.
I know you told me multiple times, but I don't know, man. I want to get a duck from the egg so that it imprints on you right away and it loves you, even if it bites you or if
even then they're assholes. Yeah.
Really? I always thought getting a duck would be kind of cool.
By all means, get a duck.
Mm-hmm.
But the experience that I've had 3 ducks, and all of them, I've raised them from chicks.
Yeah.
And they chase me around. They try to bite me. They're horrible.
Oh man, what? I don't know. I just think they're cute because if you get they look so fat because of the feathers. They look so ruffled and fat, and then every time they walk, they waddle. So it just looks funny, and I think that's cute. So I would love a duck.
Yeah, by all means, get one. But I don't know. After that, aside from chickens and stuff, I don't see myself ever having a pet bird, just because of the fact that macaws and bigger birds, they actually live for a really long time. They have the lifespan of people.
Oh, what? How do they go?
I don't know. That's a macaw, right? Or a parrot?
That's a parrot, yeah.
Yeah, parrots and macaws and those kind of birds, they can live for 60 years.
That's crazy. No way.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's actually so it could actually outlive you. Oh,
I think parakeets and smaller birds, they live 10 years maybe on a. I don't know. I'm not an expert on birds. Yeah. Ask me about dogs and yeah.
Actually, people tend to go for parakeets for their bird pets. I hate parakeets so much.
Why?
I hate
they're annoying?
The little tiny birds that most people get. Every single place I've lived in, because growing up I would always switch apartments and move around and live new houses. I would always have a neighbor that had pet birds, and it was always parakeets, or it was always like some small colorful bird.
Oh, like the lovebirds and like the finches and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, and they wouldn't shut up.
Yeah,
Even when you put like the towel over them to say it's nighttime, they make so much noise that it just annoyed me. And I'm just like, at some point it's nice because you wake up and you hear the birds singing and the sun rising, and it's a beautiful moment. But when you hear that nonstop every single day, I'm just like, please just end it.
Yeah, I get you.
And even though, like, macaws might also be very noisy, I mean, it's my bird. Maybe that's why it annoyed me, because they weren't my birds. But maybe if I do get a bird, and even if it's noisy and annoying as fuck, I'll still love it because it's mine, So yeah. I might change my opinion, I don't know. But so far, I don't plan on getting parakeets or anything like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider getting like a exotic pet? Like a I don't know, bearded dragon or like iguana?
There was one point where I wanted an anteater.
Oh, really?
Like the little Brazilian ones, or like a giant African anteater.
Yeah.
Just because they're
like the one Salvador Dali had.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I don't know. I like anteaters. They look cool. They're like natural born pest control.
Mm-hmm, true.
True. And supposedly they don't have like strong odors. Like they're supposed to be odorless, and they just eat like fruits and lounge around.
Oh, true.
So they seem like pretty chill pets. Yeah. And I think like even if I have like a giant African anteater, I can like put a leash on it and take it for walks.
Yeah, I mean they get as big as like dogs, right? Like the big dogs. Yeah, I don't see it being.
That's
that
the only
bad.
like exotic pet. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. Aside from like a dingo, but a dingo is like a dog too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Well, they're illegal right here in California, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, like if I ever move to Australia.
Oh yeah, big time. I remember my cousin used to have a giant iguana. Like it was huge, man. That thing grew out to be like 4 feet long or 3 feet long.
Dang.
I was little, so it looked even bigger then.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, it was probably like 3 feet long.
That's still really big.
Yeah, right. But it was like the body was 2 feet, and then the tail was 1 foot alone, like really long. And I remember it kind of like scary almost, because that thing had huge claws.
Yeah,
like it was like a little tiny skin palm, and the rest of its fingers, pretty much the whole fingers, was just nothing but like claws.
Yeah.
So they don't really do anything. They don't really like attack you or like scratch you on purpose, but just having those on you felt weird, and almost like I was very fearful at that time because I was very little. So but it was really cool. Like my cousins loved that thing. They said that it was awesome. They had it since it was like a little baby iguana. I think it grew to be like 15 years old, and then it died.
Dang.
So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I would get like a lizard too. Definitely considering like a bearded dragon, just because of the hype right now. I've seen it everywhere. Like I've seen it online and everything, and they look really cool. I haven't researched in what it takes to take care of one, but if I ever do make the leap into getting one, I would definitely research everything about it.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's really cool. Definitely a tortoise too. My neighbor has.
Oh yeah,
tortoise.
I wanted a tortoise at one point.
Yeah. Oh man, those tortoises, they look awesome. I remember my neighbor got it, and it was tiny, like you fit it on the palm of your hand. And now I look at it, it's only been like 2 years since he got it, and it's literally so big that you cannot grab it with one hand. Like you have to grab it with 2 hands, and then like put it somewhere, and it's like half the size of their dog. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, that's another pet I might consider. Yeah, and any other questions that the improv questions you were talking about?
No, that's pretty much it.
That's a pretty good question.
Thank you.
You want to get down to the main topic?
A little bit of a backstory on this question. We mentioned this in a previous podcast, but when we were first starting out, we recorded 3 podcasts before our first episode. Yeah. And one of the questions that we had in every single podcast was, if somebody gave you a bunch of money and told you to make a movie, what would the movie be? How would it go? All the details of it. And it's like...
You sure we didn't answer this on the first podcast?
No, we didn't.
We didn't at all? We just decided not to put it in at all?
Yeah, afterwards? I'm pretty sure we didn't.
All right,
so anyways,
let's get into
Victor.
It then. Yeah.
Moment of truth. I was kidding.
So someone... my spotlight right there, you're trying to avoid it yourself?
No, I know what movie I'd make.
Yeah,
I already have this prepared.
Yeah.
So if somebody came up to you and gave you like however much money you needed to make like the next summer blockbuster movie,
yeah,
like what kind of movie would it be? what kind of story would you write?
Just I don't know why right now that you said like someone just came up to me and gave me all this money, my mind automatically went to like, what if I wrote a story, like a book, or even just like a fan fiction, and then somehow it got its hands to like a producer of like Marvel or something like that, and they're like, you know what, we like your creative thoughts, so here's all the money you need to create a movie.
Hey, that'd be
make our
pretty good.
blockbuster. And I'm just like, oh wait,
That'd be pretty
not
cool.
bad.
You should write a book.
Just get my opinions out there.
Yeah.
Even though I've answered that question before, like, you know, and as we already said, like previous before we could record, it's still a hard question. My thoughts changed a bit from back then. I'm not sure if they will change again.
Well, you don't have
so
to reference back then because they don't know what back then was.
No, I mean, we just explained that it was
I know
before
we
the first
explained
podcast.
it, but...
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, my thoughts changed from my first response. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is my answer right now might be different from like if you ask me again like in a year or so.
Well, yeah, that's fine.
But I definitely want to go with like a space movie. I've always admired space just for its vast emptiness and limitless possibilities. You know, most people, you know, they say that when a TV show goes into space, that's their cop out in like they're running out of ideas. So they take it to space because there's like such infinite possibilities that they could literally come up with anything that's ridiculous and it would make sense because we don't know if it's out there. You know, so that's why people think it's a cop-out because, you know, they're like, whatever, let's just do the most ridiculous idea we could think of and then we'll just put it in space and that way that we keep the show going. I don't see it that way. I see it in like, there's a movie out there. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's called Ender's Game. A new recent movie that came out after Ender's Game is called Valerian Planet of Many Worlds or something like that.
Yeah.
Those two movies really inspired me because it was very similar to how I would make a movie. I personally like the movies a lot because of the whole space theme, but just the aspect of having action, deep story, and then just a bunch of aliens that you could like create and think with like some like supernatural powers that are supernatural to us because we can't like grasp how they do it. That idea seems really cool to me in my eyes. So if I were to make a movie, I would make a movie of space, throw in some like murder mystery in there, you know, maybe like the main character's sister or mother died and he's not only going out there to like find out who did it to get revenge, but also to like, you know, learn the ways of the alien people, you know, kind of like in Dragon Ball Z, how Goku goes out like because he gets lost in space and then he learns like instant transmission. These all anime references. Some people might not know. But yeah, just similar like that. The main character goes out, he learns new powers, or even just like evolves as a person himself. But I don't want to take that route where because he grew so much at the end, he decides not to kill his enemy. I actually want to make a movie where he goes through it, like he actually kills his enemy, gets revenge, and whether that revenge is satisfactory or not will probably be up to like the own person's interpretation, like the viewer's interpretation. I'm not gonna give a solid answer as to whether he was satisfied with it or not. I just wanted to leave it as he got revenge and he got what he was looking for from the beginning of the movie. Whether he will live happier because of it, that's up to whoever's watching it to determine it. You know, maybe any fan theories or something that might pop out afterwards. And yeah, just like future technology is what fascinates me. So I'll put a bunch of that in there, you know, lasers, spaceships, teleportation, warp speed. But I also try to keep it like almost like filled with some science, you know, science that like supports my crazy, you know, inventions, but it's still science fiction. You know what I mean? Just a little science so it sounds legit, just to give you a little intrigue, but it's still just like, it's all made up, it's not real.
Yeah.
That would be probably like the movie I would come up with right now.
Alright, I can see that.
Yeah? What about you, Jolyn? What would you create? Make like a Michael Bay movie with a bunch of explosions and CGI and everything?
So I'm a really big fan of the whole like the 80s group of friends trope that go on an adventure, kind of like The Sandlot or even like It.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like that. So I would make a movie that's similar to that, where you have like a group of friends, possibly all boys or like two boys, two girls, whatever, and then they go like they're about to come of age where like it's that transitional period between middle school and high school or something, where it's
Okay.
like summer break of their second year of high school.
Yeah, so like
So
still in
they're-
puberty sort of thing.
Yeah, so they're starting to like kind of grow out of however they were as a kid.
Yeah.
The leader, air quotations leader.
Like the supposed leader.
Yeah. He proposes like, hey, let's go on one more adventure because Billy is gonna go to college. He got accepted to like Dartmouth or something, and then
It's really far away. That sort of stuff.
and like Mary is gonna get married to somebody who lives in the next county over or
Oh,
whatever,
okay,
you know,
all right,
something like
yeah,
that. So
okay, I like
they
that.
just like kind of agree. One of them has a dog, Australian cattle dog,
Hey.
just because that's like a little trope.
Yeah.
Because I'm a avid Australian cattle dog lover.
Really put yourself in the position of the protagonist right there.
Yeah, and then it'll have some elements of like science fiction and a little bit of horror, mostly suspense.
Ooh, nice.
But it's all gonna be like character driven. Like there's not gonna be any like bad guy Jason figure that's
I
trying to
see.
get them. It's
Yeah.
all in their own mind. Like
It's like the progression of the movie is the characters themselves.
exactly, like
Yeah.
jealousy is a character that plays an effect, and it kind of like it's there to like separate the group, and like
Yeah.
anger, the whole question of self-worth, like those kind of things would like drive the group closer and further apart, and then there'll be some like, revelation at the end.
That's awesome.
And I don't know, that I kind of want a movie like that.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Like all the internal battles that everyone goes through growing up in life. That's gonna be the main challenge that
Exactly.
will come to the movie, to the protagonists themselves.
Yeah, so that's pretty much close to, or so that's pretty close to. That's a good description of the movie that I have in mind, and that's also a movie that I would love to see.
Yeah,
because
me
I
too.
feel like we're lacking. Like there's like a slow revival of that whole like group of friends nostalgia, because Stranger Things came out like a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and then the new It movie came out like a couple months ago.
But that's the thing. I'm pretty sure I'm completely wrong when I say this, but in what I've seen, the last movie that's very similar to what you're talking about is was it Stephen King's Stand By Me? Is it Stephen King's it was Stephen King's,
Yeah,
right?
I'm pretty sure it's Stephen King.
But the movie Stand By Me, it was very similar to what you're talking about. You know,
Yeah.
just like growing up and experiencing life itself. And even at the end of the movie, they even just did a little voiceover of what each kid grew up into and doing. And it wasn't anything like, there wasn't any real bad guy. There wasn't anything like the main thing that they were going after. It was just like exploring life, going out there with your friends, and if you get into trouble, well, that's just, you know, part of the adventure. And I think what Stranger Things and It were trying to portray, they portrayed part of that very well. You know, they portrayed part of that aspect incredibly well, which is what most people, you know, kept watching for it. But they knew that some people's attention span wasn't going to stick to that alone. So that's why they added
so they needed
and
that
stuff.
those monsters and those
Exactly.
external.
Those
No, I
external
get
conflicts.
you. Yeah, I get you. And like in my opinion, you're right. That's pretty much the case. Like it would be very hard to make a movie like Stand By Me nowadays because people, it wouldn't catch their attention, or they'd like drift off a couple of minutes in.
And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people would describe that movie as it's all talk, no action, and I flike that would discourage a lot of people from watching.
But that's
just
not the
because
point
that.
of the movie. Like, there's not supposed to be action.
It's just supposed to enjoy the ride, you know, kind of like in life.
Yeah,
It's not about
exactly.
the destination, it's all about the ride, that type of stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, it sounds like a great movie. I'd definitely go watch that. Ooh.
Thank you.
Just hearing your description just made me want to go like, oh hell yeah, why aren't you making it right now?
You
Part
could
of be
like
writing the story right now.
I could be writing
you know?
it. I know.
Yeah.
And then when our YouTube channel gets pretty big and they offer us a YouTube Red show.
Hey, Red show? No, I'm down. That sounds great.
That'd be great. That's just big dreams.
Yeah, no, if anything, you could like write it out and try to get it published.
Definitely.
You know? That sounds like a great story. And
The thing is, like, I've tried writing stories and stuff, and I have a lot of good ideas because, you know, I bounce a lot of ideas off of you.
Oh, yeah,
like,
definitely.
not only story-wise, but when it comes to videos or just things that I want to do, projects.
I mean, even in our last podcast, we talked about dreams, and your dreams are very vivid, very
exactly.
detailed.
But the
so,
only thing,
like,
the thing that I struggle with is to just like write cohesively because I'm not a strong writer.
You mean like what do you mean like just the structure of the story?
Like
or
not
what?
not so much getting what I want down on paper.
Yeah.
But to put the reader in that location to make them feel like they
They're
can
actually going through
imagine
it.
the world in their mind.
Ah,
That's where I
see.
struggle with. I'm not very good explaining details,
Yeah.
but I can imagine the details. And if somebody like makes it, I would be like, no, I imagine it a little bit more like this, or
Yeah.
like this should be a little like that way.
Well, I mean, if we can collaborate if you want.
Definitely.
I'm very good at descriptive words. I can't say them myself when I'm talking. I suck so bad at like communication. But when it comes to writing down on paper, I have time to think about what words to use and what how to describe something. So if you want, you could write the story, write the characters, and then I could just set up the place, and then you revise it and tell me like, oh yeah, I saw this. That's the way I saw it, or I want this more over
Definitely.
here. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, we should collaborate on that.
I'm down.
Be our next project.
Yeah. If you guys want to check out Jordan's story, to let us know if you would be interested in,
Post up a Google Doc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was something else that I wanted to add to it. Oh well, like the movies that would influence my creation are obviously like you mentioned, Stand By Me.
Yeah.
The Sandlot is another big one that kind of stuck to me, just because it's like another one. Literally, like if you describe the movie to somebody, it sounds like the first week of summer break to some kids because they're just playing baseball.
Yeah. No, I understand.
And then what other movies was there? Obviously, like Stranger Things stuck out to me because they're trying to give that whole retro feel to it.
Yeah, the nostalgia feeling of it all.
Aside from the sci-fi, but then when I mentioned like I wanted a sci-fi element,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
what would that be?
I imagined like the town would take place somewhere in like northern Washington or something. There's like forest. It's high enough where like weird natural phenomena can happen. So say like they hear like a big explosion and then they see like the northern lights and they're like, whoa, and they see something fall to the earth. That would be like the extent of the supernatural.
Oh, okay, I see.
Where it's like not even supernatural at all. Like everything can be explained by a natural cause.
Like it could have just been a comet that they saw.
Exactly. And then like that's
meteorite.
That's their call to adventure, aside from the fact that like, hey, let's give it one last hurrah.
Yeah, okay, I see.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, oh, that sounds great. Like, so the sci-fi aspect to it would not be because there's actual something, wrong with the situation or the town, but rather the imagination of the kids being overactive and thinking they're gonna see an alien or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when they get there, it was just like a meteorite, and they're like, it's still cool because one of them gets to like keep it or something.
Yeah, or it's probably like they probably just never find it, and they spend a couple days in the woods, and they're like,
let's go back.
And then that's where the conflict happens. Like freaking, what was his name? Billy. It's like Billy's like, Jesse, you're stupid. You brought us out to the woods and you lost your dog.
Yeah.
And like
look at us. We're gonna die all because of your fault because you wanted to go on this last adventure.
Yeah, and then like Mary starts crying, so then Julia has to help her.
Oh, nice.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then like that's how it divides the group, and then Jesse goes on his own way and he's like, this was supposed to be fun.
This is supposed to be our last adventure together, and you guys ruined it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, I see that. That's great.
And then they just go home. Well, they don't just go home, but something else has to happen.
Yeah.
Some other stuff, and then like...
Well, details we're working out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, that's my movie.
That sounds great, man. That alone
coming
is
2024.
Crazy. I mean, I know what I want in my movie, but I still hadn't worked out like the story itself, but you seem to work out your story quite well.
Still on the topic of movies, I think I've mentioned this to you, but obviously I want your guys' opinion as well.
Yeah.
So there's a recurring trend right now where they're trying to revamp a lot of like 80s and 90s horror movies.
Oh yeah.
Like they already had the remake of Chucky, they had the remake of It, and then now I just saw a commercial for the remake of the Freddy Krueger movie.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're making a Freddy Krueger movie.
I have not seen that yet. What? I mean, I feel like if they start revamping the Freddy Krueger movies, then of course they're gonna go for like Jason and then Halloween.
They're gonna have
Oh man.
Which I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a revamp of like Halloween, like the Michael Myers stuff.
Yeah.
Because like there was nothing supernatural or like scary about Michael Myers. He was just some
psychopath.
He's just a psychopath, and I feel like that it would actually play out very well. But with those other movies, especially like Freddy Krueger and Jason, I don't really feel like they have a place in today's time. Like, they were great to watch, and they're great cult classics and nostalgia trips.
Yeah, definitely.
But to remake it now, it's just kind of like okay, you're
like
kind of
shooting a dead body.
Yeah,
so
pretty much. You're like beating a dead horse.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, but I could see it in their perspective in a way where they want to keep that alive for the next generation. You know, probably maybe make it scarier because, you know, it's obvious when you see like an old movie and then you see like the remake, it's way scarier than the original was, you know, because, you know, the whole technology and better editing and you could actually see what the director or the producer or even the writer initially wanted to bring out in the movie, and because the limitations of technology in the past, they couldn't do it. So now they actually do it now, and it's actually horrifying. But in that aspect, it's just enjoy what you have. You know, why remake it and possibly ruin it? You know, because you never know if those movies are gonna be good. Like, sure, it sounds good on concept because you love those movies. It brings nostalgia to you, and it's probably one of the first scary movies you've ever seen. But what happens if they remake it and it sucks? It ruins the experience for you, and then probably you go back to your own movie and you can't really see it again the same way. So it's a lot of factors to contribute into it, and you always got to be careful. But I see what you mean. It's a hard topic to debate on right there, because it's just, you kind of want it to happen, but at the same time you don't.
Yeah, well, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, do you guys want to see it? I feel like, I don't know. I heard this ridiculous article that they're trying to remake a really old movie. I think it was like Jaws or something.
Really?
Yeah, like it wasn't. It was one of those movies that when I heard it, I was like, dude, it wasn't even scary when it came out. Why the fuck are they trying to make it over here if it's probably not gonna be scary when it's remade? But I don't remember what it was. I'll look into it, and probably in the next podcast I'll talk about it. But yeah, you know, just you guys out there, let us know what you think on the remakes. If you have enjoyed a remake that recently came out, you know, let us know which one you liked. If you liked it, if you're excited for the new Freddy Krueger, like Jolin said, if you like Chucky's, like Child's Play, you know, let us know. We want to hear your feedback. Like also the gaming industry is doing that too, right? They're remaking some games.
Well, they're not. Okay, so they're either like they're releasing a lot of like remastered HD remakes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But there's a lot, and I know they're trying to bring back a lot of titles. Like you said, there's rumor that there's gonna be a new Prince of Persia.
Yeah,
there's
remastering Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls.
They're also going to do a remaster, right? Or like a remake of Burnout. Burnout City. And then
they recently released the remaster of what was it, Shadow of the Colossus?
Oh yeah.
They did that 3 times already. This is the 3rd time. They originally came out on the PS2, they remastered it for the PS3, and now they remastered it again for the PS4. So it's like it goes back to the movies as well, you know.
But I feel like with games, it's more forgiving with games. Yeah. Just because like there was like with movies, there's ways to get around the limitations of technology, because you can obviously like create the set.
Yeah, and like Star Wars, that's a perfect example right there.
Yeah, or like those really old school movies when they had those blood scenes, instead of using actual blood, they would use melted chocolate. Yeah, and exactly. Because chocolate has a consistency of like coagulated blood. Mm-hmm. But with games, there's no acting, there's no set. Everything is on a computer.
Yeah, digital platform.
So those people who like saw those, so like in my case, my favorite game from like the PS2 era was like Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1. If I heard there was going to be a remake, the remake would look exactly how I thought Call of Duty 2 looked the first time I saw it. Whereas when I look at it now, it just looks like a bunch of polygons. But in my mind, it was like, whoa, these are the best graphics in the world. Yeah. So I feel like it's more forgiving because the more people who have played it are like, this is what I thought it looked like the first time you played Kingdom Hearts compared to the remake that you bought. Doesn't it look like how you imagined it?
Yeah, it looks way better. It looked exactly how I remembered it. Yeah.
And then when you go back and play the original Kingdom Hearts, it's like a bunch of polygons and stuff, and it's all weird.
No, I see where you're going with that, and that's why I mean it makes sense because the remasters are so close to the original game. You know, like they're not decades apart. They're actually just like at most was like what 5 years that I've seen so far. I could be wrong, but with movies, it's literally decades. It's actually like 30 years away, and they remastered it. I don't know. It's always it's always a yes or no situation where like you're okay with it or you hate it. But with video games, I feel like it's its own different aspect of it.
Yeah,
It still holds the same experience as you saw it the first time, just with better graphics. It's crazy how people are just trying to keep their childhood alive.
yeah. Well, this is like moving on from this. For those of you who follow all our videos that come out and like subscribe and have like notifications and watch all our videos when they come out, like thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
We really appreciate the support.
We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it and everything.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, we still have like the main stuff that we do together, like our podcast and Let's Play, but we're starting to like take on our own little projects. Like we did the world's hottest chocolate, and then I did the whole
documentary
mini series of like starting your own business.
Yeah.
I was thinking like if Edward is okay with it and he has time sometime, I was thinking of starting like another podcast.
Yeah.
Where we just like talk about cars.
Oh, nothing but cars?
Nothing but cars.
I mean, yeah, that could be a little project for you guys.
A little side thing too.
Because, I mean, I would join you, but, I'm not an expert. So I would be there to give my opinion on the side where, like, someone who doesn't really know much about cars. So I'll gladly be there to learn from you guys. I would love to hear that shit.
Yeah, because I've already had, like, a couple ideas for some episodes where, like, obviously the first one, since Edward's super passionate about American muscle and American pony cars, we can talk about American cars. And then second episode would be, like, we talk about imports and JDM, which is my... expertise now, and
definitely.
And then we like compare cars, talk about engines, projects, new car news, new things that are coming out.
Okay. Sorry to like interrupt on this on your idea.
I just pretty much done.
I just really wanted to talk to you about this. I recently saw the video from Dona Media about the Corvette.
Yeah.
And I really like how they're actually planning on making a new Corvette with the engine in the back.
Yeah. Mid-engine.
Yeah, the mid-engine for 2018. I thought that concept looked great. It looked like an actual supercar.
Yeah, that's like a formula that all sports cars have.
Yeah.
Well, like all pretty successful sports cars. There are a few exceptions. Like the MR2 is a mid rear wheel engine car. The Miata's, I believe it's front engine rear wheel drive, but the thing with the Miata is that because it's that setup, it has a 50-50 weight distribution.
Yeah.
So it can corner well, it's small, it has a short wheelbase, so it can do it's like very precise.
Yeah.
The Honda Type R's have always been front engine, front drive.
Yeah.
So the weight distribution is off, but because they're front drive with I think the newest one has a double wishbone suspension that eliminates torque steer. That's why it's amazing with all those things. But Ferraris, Lamborghinis, most Lotuses, Aston Martins and Jaguars, they're all mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars.
Yeah.
If not all-wheel drive cars.
Exactly. But I don't know, man. Because I guess it blew me away when I first heard of it because I always saw, like, I grew up with Corvettes all around me. I always had, like, family members driving Corvettes, like the classic, what was it, like the Barbie Corvette? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like the 2000 one?
Yeah, the 2000, like, convertible one and stuff. It's, like, classic red and everything. And I never thought they were cool. I thought they were cool, but I never thought they were amazing cars. Like, I would see them so often that I was like, oh, yeah, look, another Corvette. And the design itself was so, like, rounded out that it didn't seem stylish. It didn't seem like edgy. It didn't seem like something I would drive myself.
Yeah.
And only recently when they released like the Corvette Stingrays, I think it was like 2015 or so, when they started releasing those models. The most recent one I saw was a 2018 version, and that is beautiful. I loved it. Like it had everything I wanted. It had wings, it had edges, it looked like a sports car. And then when I saw that the concept of it being mid-engine, it looked perfect. It looked like a supercar, and I feel like that's the first step that Corvette's gonna take in like just turning the car into a supercar like a Lamborghini or Ferrari, and the car's no longer going to be, for muscle. What is it? Not muscle. Sports cars fans. It's gonna be for like luxury and stuff as well.
Well, the Corvette has always been a luxury car, like even since the beginning.
Has it really?
Yeah.
I always thought like that was their version of a sports car, so that's why they.
So that's
they
the thing. It started as a luxury car, and then it turned into a sports car because of the guy that they mentioned, Zorro something.
Yeah, Zorro.
So it turned into a sports car, and then it now it's basically like a hyper sports car. Stepping foot into the supercar world, because the Corvette can actually keep up with other supercars like the Audi R8. It can keep up with the Jaguar F-Types. It can keep up with like really low Aston Martin DB5s. And even like I think a Ferrari 458, you can
go up on par with it.
It's a good car to. If you want like an American built car that can keep up with something like that, obviously that's a Corvette. Okay, Ford used to have the Thunderbird for that, because the Thunderbird was their version, but they got rid of the Thunderbird because it quickly went from being a sports luxury to just a luxury car. Yeah. And then now their supercar is the Ford GT, which I was a fan of the really early ones that they used in the Le Mans, and then I hated the 2000 version, but the newest 2017 version is very beautiful.
Which one's the 2000 version? Because I know I've liked.
It's like GT. The classic. It's like the classic GT.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I've always liked GT. Then I always liked that one.
The newest one, oh my! The whole design of it was built in a computer.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't like hand drawn, so there wasn't any like limitations, and it was all simulated and tested. Oh, okay. So when they actually built it, it had a lot of like all the aerodynamics they were working for actually worked. And it's like the only car that actually has like flying buttresses on it. Yeah. Which is so cool.
I love it. Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's supposed to be like monsters on the racetrack, even though it has, I think, like a V6.
Yeah, no.
It has like an EcoBoost V6.
Oh, but that's why, I mean, I don't know. It's just because I was around Corvettes so much, I guess I never saw them for the car they really were. I always assumed they were like the douchebag muscle cars. You know what I mean? Like the ones that just jocks would get for their first like car in high school. And I always saw it as like, if you rode a Corvette, it was just like you were driving a Mustang or a Camaro or even a Challenger, because it was unnecessarily powerful for you, especially since it was your first car. You didn't know how to control that. But I guess because like you're getting me more into cars, I'm actually starting to understand how big a deal they really were, and I guess it blew my mind because I'm starting to fully admire it for what it really was. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. The Corvette's a great car. Yeah.
I think that's what separates me from Edward, where Edward is like full blown American enthusiast. Yeah. Because I'm not a huge fan of like the V8. Because like when I look at cars that I want, I look at like the power that they can put out, but I also look at like how
the potential it could have.
Not so much the potential, but just like, is this car gonna bankrupt me in 5 years?
Oh, I see. Okay.
So with a Corvette, it has a 6.4 liter V8, and that's a lot of gas. Like my dad has, I forget. I think he has like a 3.5 or 4 liter V8 in his Toyota, and it only goes like 12 miles to the gallon.
Damn. So, oh my gosh.
He doesn't like to drive it for long distances because it just eats his gas.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why he uses my Corolla. And a lot of Japanese cars, most of them are like 4 cylinders, and there's some that are 6 cylinders, but there's very few that stick out that are 8 cylinders. Yeah. And there's only one that's a 12 cylinder that sticks out, and it's a Toyota Century.
That's a 12 cylinder?
It's a V12. Or like a straight 12, I forget.
I did not know that.
But it's a beautiful car.
Yeah, I've seen it. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, Japanese cars, they're meant for the people. They're meant for like...
Yeah, that's why. And I think that's what draws me
yeah.
more towards like the whole JDM and Toyota and like Japanese built cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're a lot more practical, and like you can still have fun with a 4-cylinder car.
Because I feel like I'm not saying I don't like American cars. I fucking love American cars. You know, again, I grew up with them, and I'm kind of in between you and Edward. Like, I love all cars in general because I'm really starting to dig deep into this whole topic. So I just have admiration for every car that's out there. But I also feel like American cars were meant for the muscle itself. Like it wasn't that they didn't care about economical cars.
Yeah,
they
like
just
fuel
cared about
efficiency and stuff.
yeah, exactly. Like they cared more about how far can we push this engine, like what's the limit to like how we could do it, and it would be street legal and stuff like that. And then once they saw the limit and once they released that car that people loved the power and the force and the speed that it went to, that's when they later integrated like EcoBoost and stuff like that to help you manage the gas intake. But other than that, it's still just like all about power and speed.
Well, yeah, that's because Americans basically built like the muscle car and the pony car.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of cars overseas that you can call muscle cars. Like there's debate that the Honda Accord is a muscle car because it has all the things that make a muscle car. It has like a big engine, it's lightweight, whatever.
Yeah, it works.
And then even now, like our muscle cars, our quote unquote muscle cars, the only real one is the Dodge Challenger.
Oh yeah,
because the Camaro, because the Camaro and the Mustang were originally pony cars.
Yep.
But because the muscle car craze in America has gone down so much that companies like Mercury, Plymouth, AMX, I think it's AMX. Okay. Yeah, AMC or AMX, the ones that made the Javelin. I think it's AMX. But yeah, even those
went with the whole muscle car. Fiasco.
Like you don't see like a 2018 version of like a Dodge Barracuda or like even a Plymouth Roadrunner anymore.
Yeah.
It's just that they like died down. I mean, there's some like saving graces that throughout the ages, like obviously the Buick Grand National GNX. That was like a NASCAR sold to the people.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then even like the Ford Taurus with the SHO engine, that was like a sleeper car from the factory.
But then why? My question would be, if some people do know that like Mustang and Camaro, they're pony cars and not muscle cars, why do people just categorize them as muscle cars?
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. Like, because of the shrinkage of the muscle car scene, they just decided like, we're just gonna stick these pony cars. We're gonna give the pony cars more power. Yeah. And call them muscle cars, because the whole definition of a muscle car is a car that has too much power.
Yeah, exactly.
That can go in a straight line. That's like the broad definition. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. If you guys are car enthusiasts. Yeah. Edward, if you're listening. But yeah, so it originally, like, I think the Mustangs only made like 100-something horsepower. They didn't have like crazy amounts. Yeah, same thing with the Camaros. Yeah, it wasn't until like I think the 80s, or like the 60s, when they had those very rare versions like the Boss 302 and the Boss 429s. Yeah, they had the like V8 Windsor engines where they made crazy amounts of horsepower. Those are like pony cars turned muscle.
Hell yeah.
Part of the decline of the muscle car is the fact that Japanese cars and European cars came into play.
Yeah, started tuning it up and everything.
Like, why would you buy? I think at the time a Mustang cost like $7,000. Why would you buy a $7,000 muscle car that eats your gas when you can buy a $5,000 Datsun 240Z?
Yeah, that fits everything you need.
That can compete with that car, and exactly. it has a eco-friendly 6-cylinder. Yeah. So it's just that. So
it's just growing popularity because of the necessity of just needing something that doesn't eat your gas away that fast. And
yeah, because we had two big fuel crises. Yeah, definitely. Plus like the 2008 economic decline, and like I think another economic decline that just really like killed the muscle cars.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it was still fun. People still wanted the power, still wanted the speed, but they didn't have the money for it.
Exactly, and then that's why now you like, I guess pony cars got replaced with hatchbacks that have turbochargers, like the Ford Focus.
Big time.
Yeah, that's your Ford Focus ST and RS. Those are your new pony cars. Yep.
Damn, that's crazy. I honestly would not see them as pony cars, but
I don't know. I always for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge fan of hatchbacks. Yeah. Anything that was bred down from rally stage, I love them. Like my whole life goal is to get an Audi Quattro, along with like a long list of other cars like the Mark IV Supra, 63 Lincoln Continental, Plymouth Pontiac Firebird. I have a whole list. Even last night I was looking at it, and I want like a 73 Skyline Hakosuka, which is a 2000 GTR.
Yeah.
If for those of you who don't know, I think it's in Fast 5 when they're in Brazil.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Is it Fast 5? Either way, yeah, it's in the Fast
in one of the Fast and Furious movies,
one
like
of the late ones.
In the opening scene, you see Paul Walker, you see Brian and his wife driving that black rusted ass car.
Yeah.
That has like 4 doors and it looks like a little coupe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Hakosuka.
Really?
There are certain versions of that made 500 horsepower.
Damn.
But because of the gentleman's agreement, which was like, we're not going to say how much horsepower our car actually has if you guys don't, it was advertised to have 130.
Damn, that is really like what is it?
It's a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah. And then only until you bought it did you see the full potential it had, and you're like, holy shit.
Oh, I'm sorry. This just became a car show.
But yeah, we'll talk more about it with Edward if anything.
Definitely, if Edward
just go into it.
Yeah, if you guys want to hear a whole podcast dedicated to cars, let us know.
Yeah, we'll go with your idea and just start a whole episodes on that, the whole series on it.
Like always, comment down below if you want to. Any topics you want us to talk about, you can also hit us up. You can also DM us on Twitter. Instagram. Or you can also tweet us on Twitter.
Yeah,
you can also DM us. DM us on Instagram.
We're slowly making a Facebook page. Like, I know I haven't gotten into that. We haven't gotten into that. But that's like, I don't know. We personally felt like Facebook wasn't a huge deal, but we'll see into it. We'll make our own page. We'll let you guys know. And but for now, if you guys want, just comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to keep up with our videos. And
if anyone has like a early 1970s Datsun 240 and you guys want to give it to me, definitely reach out to me in our email. I'll gladly take it.
Specifically, give. We don't have that much money.
Exactly.
But yeah, let us know, guys. Question of the day, Jolyn. Let the people out there think on something. What would your question be for them?
All right. If you're walking down the street and somebody came up to you and could offer you $5,000 a month for the rest of your life, or guarantee you happiness for the rest of your life, which one would you take?
Okay, that's a good question.
Because obviously, some answers will probably be like, "Oh, I'll take the 5,000 because I can buy whatever I want and then I'll be happy."
Yeah, exactly.
But is that really happiness?
Yeah, and then there's other people that are just like, I'm already happy. Why would I need it? Yeah,
exactly. Comment down below.
Let us know your response.
Question of the day.
Another question: if you had to get an exotic pet, which one would you get?
I feel like we should have put this in the beginning of the podcast.
The questions?
Yeah.
Nah, that's at the end, so that way they could just enjoy it. That's our farewell to them.
All right.
Anyways, but
exotic pets.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope to see you next time on Cafetalk. Jolyn, any goodbye message before we sign out?
Email me if you have a JDM car you don't want anymore. I'll take it. And I will love it and care for it.
They'll go to good hands.
They'll go to a good home.
Alright. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye. And don't forget to stay beautiful.